If you would have told me a year ago that two directors under 30 would produce two of the best movies of 2026 within 3 weeks of each other, I would tell you were crazy, but here we are. I am here to talk about The Backrooms by Kane Parsons, one of my favorite movies of this year. Obviously, the other film I'm referencing is Obsession, Corey Barker. I'll probably make a video about that one as well. But I have a lot to say about Backrooms. I saw it twice, most recently just 2 days ago as I'm filming this, so I've been big into the Backrooms recently. So let's talk about this movie, what I liked, and some of the parts of it where I was a little thrown off, but I still gave it a 4.5 on Letterboxd, so clearly they didn't throw me off too much. Backrooms is an A24 produced horror movie directed by Kane Parsons, who, if you don't know, made a YouTube series about the Backrooms that is wildly popular, featuring found footage stuff, scientists testing it, stuff like that. I would highly recommend checking out the found footage video on his YouTube channel because that is one of the best ones. And if you're planning on seeing the movie and haven't yet, and you don't know anything about the Backrooms, I think the found footage video is the best one to watch to get yourself ready for the movie. And if you don't want to watch the hours of the YouTube series, which I understand because I haven't yet either, definitely go check out the found footage video that he made. But Backrooms is obviously the feature film version of this YouTube series. They put the keys in his hands. I want to start off by talking about that, actually, because Kane Parsons directed every second of this movie. There was a lot of online discourse about how he didn't actually direct this movie, how people like James Wan and Oz Perkins, who were both involved with the movie, were actually like the ghost directors, and he was just the face of the film. People said the same thing about Curry Barker and Obsession, but I think it was a lot more prominent with the Backrooms and Kane Parsons, because Kane Parsons is 19 years old, or he was when they started. He's 20 years old currently. He was also 16 when James Wan started talking to him about the Backrooms movie. So a lot of people assumed that because of his youth and his inexperience with feature film directing, somebody was there kind of being his supervisor, right? That rumor was kind of shut down by Mark Duplass, who is famous for Creep. He plays a small but important role in the Backrooms movie. Spoilers in this video, obviously, ahead. He plays a scientist from Async, who is talking to Mary, our therapist, played by Renate. I forget her last name every single time. But he came out and talked about how he was on set, obviously, and how Kane Parsons just didn't need any of them to help him. Right? Not that he didn't want that, but like he was saying, like people think. I think I was brought in, is what he said. I think I was brought in to kind of be like the mentor, but really, King didn't need it because he was ready, right? And so, obviously, those rumors were shut down, and I think, just based on what I saw in the found footage and the other YouTube videos that I watched, Kane Parsons was the director of this film through and through, and anybody who thinks otherwise is just stupid. So let's get into the positives of this film, and there are a lot of them. The first big positive is Kane Parsons' camera work. He is absolutely phenomenal with the camera, and for someone who is so young and is so inexperienced, not in a bad way, but he just factually is inexperienced as a feature film director, his camera work is really, really, really solid. The found footage scenes in this movie, specifically the one where Clark recruits Bobby and Kat to go down to the Backrooms with him for research purposes, is some of the best scenes, if not the best scene, in any movie this year. I'm legitimately saying this because I love every single second. From the second Bobby's in the mirror waving his hand around, and then from that moment until when we obviously see the end of Bobby, it is just one of my favorite scenes in cinema this year, and maybe one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie ever. It is just so well done. The camera work is so perfect. The acting is really, really good from everybody involved in that scene. And that's all Kane Parsons. He knew exactly what he wanted with the found footage stuff. That's his bread and butter. We knew we had to have found footage stuff included in the movie because that's big part of what the Backrooms is on the YouTube series. That's a big part of who he is as a director, is the found footage stuff, and he wanted to include that, and he did a great job. So that's the first positive, is Kane Parsons' camera work. Second positive, obviously, is set design. That's all Kane Parsons. It's all from just what he's built from the YouTube series. Obviously, making stuff in Blender for the YouTube series. He probably did a bunch of that with this set design as well. But from what I've heard, it's a very practical set. They had miles and miles of it. People would get lost on set while filming, so he had the vision, and he did a great job executing it. It looks exactly how I expected it to look when I sat down in the theater for my first viewing. The next positive is very, very, very much about the acting. Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate are fantastic. Chiwetel, especially, I don't want to take anything away from Renee when I say this, but he is by far the best actor in this movie. He is so good. The opening therapy scene, where they role play him getting kicked out of his house by his wife, or when they're just talking in that scene, the way he moves his hands during therapy is so good. The way he talks, he's just so cohesive. I love the way that he delivers his lines in this entire film. I love the way he portrays Clark's descent into madness in the back rooms in the dinner scene at the end of the movie, or the third act, I should say. I love the way that he acts in the found footage. So Chiwetel, I think, is a huge, huge shining light in this movie, a huge positive, because he really, really, really is just fantastic. And I was skeptical about him, not because of anything about him, but he's just not a horror movie guy. He's not somebody you view as a horror guy. And so I was a little skeptical of both him and Renee being cast in this movie, because they're not horror people. But obviously A24, James Wan, Oz Perkins, Kane Parsons knew what they were doing, because they were both fantastic. I don't want to take anything away from Renee. She's a big part of the positivity with the acting. She is also fantastic in this movie. She does a great job. I think it's one of her better performances. So yeah, the acting is a huge positive. The negatives are honestly few and far between for me, but the biggest one is the script. It's terrible writing. I think a lot of it comes down to this, personally, and this is kind of more my guess or my opinion than it is fact, right? I think the Backrooms is just hard to write a script for, because it is about the mystery, and it's about the lore, and the found footage stuff, and the YouTube series doesn't have a ton of scripted dialogue. The Backrooms might just not be something built for a script necessarily, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, you have to have a script in a feature film, so you had to write a script, right? But Kane Parsons kind of put that in somebody else's hands for this movie. I mean, as we talk about the sequel, which is already reportedly in the works, he is going to write it along with a screenplay collaborator, so he's going to ask somebody to come alongside him to write it, and hopefully that person will be good at their job. But whoever wrote this movie, didn't look it up before this, it isn't a good script. It's a terrible script. The lines are delivered well, the acting is fantastic, but the script is just absolutely terrible. Third act drags a little bit. The dinner scene, while the acting is good, I did not love it. It really took me out of the movie for a little while. It was just a little bit too weird, and it just felt like it was a quick jump from what we were seeing into into what seemed to be like towards the end of the movie. And so I think it was too long. I timed it out the second time watching. It was like 13 minutes. I don't think that was. I just think it really killed any momentum the movie had, because we had Mary going in for the first time and her getting choked out by Clark, and it's really intense, and the monster's coming clearly, and that's why he chokes her out, so she doesn't keep running around and get lost. And then we just kind of cut to this 15-minute basically chunk of the movie where, like, you just kind of get taken out of it a little bit. So that's my biggest negative. I think the monster's a little goofy. That's another negative. And I think that's a little bit Oz Perkins, but I think it was just an interesting direction to go, with the monster being something who resembles one of the characters inside of the Backrooms. But it just looked a little goofy on the outside of it. I said this on Twitter. I think it would be really scary if you were being chased by a monster that looked like you, but as an observer from the outside watching it on a screen, watching it to happen to someone else, it really wasn't that scary. And I think the monster payoff is a little bit wonky and not my favorite thing in the world. I also think the ending is a little abrupt. Not that it shouldn't be, because there's so much more to do with the Backrooms, and you want to leave some stuff untouched so you can keep the series going, whether that's another movie, which it seems to be, or even a TV show, or like an anthology thing. I think all of those things would be awesome. So I think, yeah, the ending's a little abrupt. And I also didn't love the part of the movie where obviously we see the found footage stuff, and we see Bobby get killed, and we see Clark trying to find Kat, and while he's trying to find Kat, something really tall picks up the camera. And then it just cuts to the therapist, and it's another moment where you feel like the momentum is just killed right there, and you just struggle a little bit with trying to get that momentum back, right? So that's another negative, but overall, again, I love this movie. I gave it a 4.5 on Letterboxd. I think this is a fantastic film. I think it's really worth seeing, even if you're not a horror fan, because it really is about the mystery of the movie. So while I do have some negatives, I do think that the positives heavily outweigh them. Those are my thoughts on Kane Parsons' The Backrooms. Go see this movie if you are a horror fan, if you are a mystery fan, if you are a movie fan. Go see The Backrooms in theaters, and try and go see it in a packed theater if you can, because the opening scene alone, which is a huge positive, I forgot to mention that, the opening scene is fantastic. The opening 10 to 15 minutes is one of the best parts of the movie. And if you go see that in a packed theater, it just sucks the air out of the room right away and gets you everybody ready for what you're about to go through together. So go see this in a packed theater. If you did like this review, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.